My name's Mike Daniel, and you're watching Real Grace Life. When we talk about walking in grace or walking according to grace or living by grace or grace life, what are we really saying? We're saying that everything that is life to us is not earned or caused by us. I wonder if you can look at your circumstances, look at maybe some of the conflicts that you're witnessing or experiencing in your life and relationships in the world at large, whether that's at work or in your family or maybe just in general with people regarding politics and social causes, many of which are very worthwhile. But the reality is we do not have a need to be validated in those circumstances. We don't have a need to gain something from those circumstances, because if it doesn't go our way, we're available and willing to intervene for the sake of what God is doing around us and for the sake of others whom we love and are called to serve. But we do not lose something, nor do we gain something by the outcome of those conflicts. We get to walk in the finished work of his victory that only Christ can merit. And it doesn't have to be validated from anybody else's perspective. Here's the great news. I can afford to even be wrong in a conflict, and it doesn't ever make me wrong. I'm wrong about something, but I'm right with God. I'm right in who I am. I'm right. I've been made right. I'm the very righteousness of God, and not by my doing, but by his doing and my choosing. What would it look like for you today to walk in the rightness, the righteousness that 2 Corinthians 5 speaks of when it says that he who knew no sin became sin for us, that we, you and I, even when we're wrong about something, even when we're wrong in our behavior, even when we're wrong sometimes in our thinking, even when our feelings are based on something that's wrong, even when we're living according to lying beliefs, so our response to circumstance or to ourselves or to our history or to other people, even when those things are inaccurate, you and I don't become wrong in and of ourselves. He, by grace, not by merit, not by our own ability, not by what we can discern or cause, we are right because he, by grace, has made us right. What if you were already right? What if even when your behavior or thinking or circumstances, somehow choices were wrong, what if you were not the sum of your behavior and choices and circumstances? What if you were right by grace, not by merit? What if you started from the place of being right in Christ, so you didn't have anything to gain and nothing you could lose from your circumstances, from your competency, from your failures and successes? What if you were predefined instead of walking into circumstances and situations and arguments and conflicts and thinking that would define you in any way? I hope that you'll take that reality that he who knew no sin became sin for us, which he didn't deserve, so that we could be the righteousness of God, which we do not, nor will we ever, nor do we have to deserve. You're the righteousness of God, not because what you do is right. You're the righteousness of God because you've received Christ, who is our righteousness. In his first letter to the Corinthians, before that verse was ever written, Paul said in 1 Corinthians 1 verse 30, he says that God made him to be for us, among other things, our righteousness, our justification, our wisdom, our redemption. What if your righteousness isn't your behavior? What if your righteousness is Christ? How valid would you be then? How significant, how secure would you be when your successes and failures don't change your status, don't change your identity, don't change what defines you, and how incredibly right you are in Christ with God? That's how right you are. We're going to talk over the next few messages about the things that grace affords us so that we can begin walking in what we've got, not striving for what we, because of the lies of the flesh and the lies of the enemy and the circumstances that deceive us because of the system of the world that we're in, what if we walked in the grace that is already ours, what has already been afforded us, who we already are in Christ, what Christ has already accomplished on our behalf, the power that's already at work towards us. So the very verse that in Ephesians where Paul says that we might know, we might have revelation, and the spirit of revelation, our eyes might be open, that we could actually know and comprehend the hope that is already ours in Christ and the value that he has in us as his inheritance in the saints, the value that we already have in him, and ultimately the power that's already at work towards us who believe. The very power, the resurrection power that raised Christ from the dead is the power that's at work in you. I am not trying to gain something. I'm not trying to cause something. I'm learning to walk in what is already true and what is already mine and what has already been brought about in the finished work of Christ. That's what it means that we would walk according to the grace in which we now stand in Christ. I hope that encourages you. Let's stay plugged in. What questions do you have about what it means for you to be right in Christ with God? Versus our behavior sometimes, versus our thinking sometimes, certainly versus our feelings and emotions sometimes, and choices sometimes. What does it mean? And what questions or conflicts does it bring up in your thinking that you are right by grace in Christ? Because he's made you right. He's in union with you because he's made you right. And he wants to walk with you and is walking with you and in you as you walk as the very righteousness of God by grace in your circumstances this week. I'd love to hear your questions. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear how that challenges or inspires or encourages you because this is just the beginning. I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about what we have and what it means to walk in what we have by grace in Christ. I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you, guys.